Welcome to the Smart Science measuring video about the pendulums and length lab. In this lab, you're trying to figure out how the length of a pendulum affects its period of motion. Remembering that period is the time required for the pendulum to go from one end all the way to the other in its swing and then back to where it started again. So noticing the equipment for the lab, it's a number of different masses of balls attached to a string. Here's a picture of what a pendulum looks like, the ball tied to the bottom of the string. And notice that the measuring you're going to do in this lab is clicking on the pendulum ball or the bob to make marks of its position and time. So let's go ahead and consider the central question: how does length affect the period of a pendulum? And to select a hypothesis, just click on one of these right here, whichever one you think is best. And if you have to write a hypothesis in a more advanced class, do that. It will also end up here in this box. Now we're going to pick an experiment. We do have three different lengths, 11, 22, and 37 centimeters at two different masses. So you can test 6 different scenarios. Let's just try one of these. If I pick one and press play, we're going to see that pendulum pulled to the left and swinging back and forth, left, right, and so forth. So the period of the pendulum happens many times in that little video, but now you're going to see a time lapse, sort of really fast motion of the video so that you can very nicely measure the position and time. Let's click on the center of the pendulum ball. Notice it moves forward. We're going to click it again. And just try your best to stay right in the center of that ball when you click. And that's going to give you good, consistent data. Notice now I've already passed the beginning point of the pendulum, but I can keep measuring. So we're going to measure several cycles here. Notice if you want to know the period on the graph, you can kind of say, okay, I start at 0, and when I get back to 0, what's the time value? So you can sort of read that off the x-axis there in milliseconds. And you know the distance in centimeters. If I start at 0, getting back to 0, that's 1 period of the motion. So once you've done some measuring, save your graph. If you don't like it while you're measuring, you can always reset and measure again. When you save the graph, it goes up in this list. You've got that red graph there for steel at 11 centimeters, and use the all button to compare your different graphs and see if they're similar or different. Hopefully you're going to learn something about how length affects the period of a pendulum in this Smart Science lab.